The worst betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people who've seen you at your strongest and your weakest, who know exactly where to plant the knife. I learned this lesson in the gleaming offices of Morrison and Barrett Trading, watching 15 years of loyalty dissolve in the face of fear and greed. My name is Sarah Morrison, and until yesterday I was the architect behind Wall Street's most successful quantitative trading system. The algorithm I'd built had turned our boutique trading firm into a powerhouse, generating consistent returns that made larger firms green with envy. But algorithms don't care about cancer diagnoses. People do. The quarterly numbers look strong, Thomas Barrett said, shuffling papers in our top-floor conference room. My oldest friend, my business partner of 15 years, wouldn't meet my eyes. But we need to discuss the OI stability situation. I knew this meeting was coming. 3 months of chemotherapy had kept me working remotely, and whispers had started among our larger clients. What if the cancer was worse than we'd said? What if the algorithm needed its creator? What if? The algorithm is performing perfectly, I said, pulling up the latest trading data on my tablet. The automated systems haven't missed a beat. Even during my treatment. That's not the point, Sarah, Elizabeth Chen cut in. Our newest partner, brought in 5 years ago for her institutional connections, had been circling like a shark since my diagnosis. Clients need confidence. They need to know there's a steady hand on the wheel. I looked around the table at the partners I'd worked with for years. David Wong, our risk management expert, suddenly very interested in his coffee. Maria Santiago, head of client relations, carefully examining her manicured nails. And Thomas, still refusing to meet my gaze. My doctors say the treatment is working, I said quietly. Another 2 months and... 2 months is an eternity in the markets, Elizabeth interrupted. We've already had 3 major clients express concerns about stability. About continuity of leadership. The algorithm isn't enough. Thomas finally looked up, his face flushed. Yes, it's brilliant. Yes, it works. But clients aren't just investing in software, they're investing in people. In certainty. I sat back, the familiar ache in my bones suddenly sharper. And I'm not certain enough anymore? The partners have taken a vote, Elizabeth said, sliding a document across the table. Given the circumstances, we feel it's best for the firm if you step down. We're prepared to offer a fair price for your shares. I picked up the document, my hands steady despite the rage building inside me. The fair price was pennies on the dollar, a fraction of what my stake in the firm was worth. They were using my illness to steal my life's work. This is how you do it? I asked Thomas. 15 years of friendship, and you can't even look at me while you rob me? He flinched but said nothing. Elizabeth stepped in smoothly. This is business, Sarah. Nothing personal. The firm needs stability and your condition. Well, we need to think about the future. The future. They thought they were securing the firm's future by pushing me out. What they didn't understand, what none of them had ever truly grasped, was that the algorithm wasn't just code. It was a reflection of how I saw the markets, how I understood the patterns of human behavior that drove prices up and down. They thought they were buying my work for pennies. What they were really buying was their own downfall. And if I refuse? I asked, already knowing the answer. Then we call an emergency shareholder meeting, Elizabeth replied. With the proxy votes we've secured, we can force a resolution. This way is cleaner. Better for everyone. Better for everyone. Like the cancer wasn't bad enough, now I had to watch my partners, my friends, strip away everything I'd built. All in the name of stability. I thought about the algorithm, about the fail-safes I'd built into it that none of them knew about. About the deeper patterns it could recognize, patterns of betrayal in the markets that mirrored the betrayal happening right in front of me. The algorithm needs regular updates, I said carefully. Without them, it could become unpredictable. David Wong spoke up for the first time. We have copies of all the code. Our tech team has been studying it. We'll manage. I almost smiled. They had copies of the code, yes. But they didn't have the key to its heart. The adaptive learning protocols that made it more than just another trading program. Protocols that only I could fully control. Take some time, Thomas said, finally finding his voice. Review the offer with your lawyers. But we need an answer by tomorrow morning. Markets need certainty, I finished for him. Yes, you've made that clear. I stood up, gathering my things with deliberate calm. The partners watched me, perhaps expecting tears or pleading. They didn't know me as well as they thought. "I'll have my answer in the morning," I said, heading for the door. "And Thomas, remember what you told me when we started this firm? The market always knows the truth. Tomorrow we'll see just how right you were." I walked out of the conference room, past the trading floor where dozens of screens displayed my algorithm at work. The code was already adapting, recognizing patterns of instability that had nothing to do with market prices. By tomorrow morning they would learn that there are different kinds of certainty. The certainty of friendship, the certainty of loyalty, and the certainty that actions have consequences. I spent the night in my home office, surrounded by the monitors where I'd first conceived the algorithm. Lines of code scrolled past as I made a few small adjustments, not to sabotage but to reveal, to show them exactly what they were losing. The algorithm had always been designed to recognize patterns of instability. Tomorrow it would recognize the biggest instability of all, the betrayal of trust. My phone buzzed with text messages throughout the evening. Thomas trying to justify himself. Elizabeth pressing for my answer. Even Maria expressing regret but insisting it was for the best. I answered none of them. The algorithm would do all the talking tomorrow. As midnight approached, I took one last look at the offer they'd made. Pennies for my shares. Pennies for my life's work. Pennies for 15 years of trust. Tomorrow they would learn the true price of certainty. Part 2. Market corrections. At 8:30 a.m. I walked into Morrison and Barrett trading for what they thought would be the last time. The trading floor was already buzzing with pre-market activity, analysts and traders preparing for the opening bell. My algorithm's displays dominated the main wall, its predictions glowing in reassuring green. "Sarah." Thomas hurried over, looking like he hadn't slept. "Have you made your decision?" I handed him a sealed envelope. "My response to your generous offer." Elizabeth appeared at his shoulder, perfect as always in her designer suit. "I trust you've seen reason," she said, already reaching for the envelope. "The papers just need your signature and—" "You should wait to open that," I said quietly. "About 10 minutes after the market opens." Thomas frowned. "Sarah, don't make this difficult. We need to file the ownership transfer before trading begins." 10 minutes, I repeated, walking past them to my old office. "Watch the screens. You'll understand then." I could feel their eyes on me as I closed my office door. Through the glass walls I saw them huddled over my envelope, debating whether to open it now or wait. Their uncertainty was already feeding into the algorithm's patterns. At precisely 9:30 a.m. the opening bell rang. The trading floor erupted into its usual controlled chaos, but something was different. The algorithm's displays were shifting, showing patterns none of them had seen before. "What's happening?" I heard Elizabeth's voice rise above the general noise. "These predictions don't match our morning models." The algorithm was doing exactly what it was designed to do, recognizing patterns of instability. But today it wasn't just analyzing market data. It was analyzing the instability within Morrison and Barrett itself. "Check the institutional client orders," David Wong called out. "Something's not right." On the screens, trading patterns began to emerge. The algorithm wasn't just predicting market movements, it was revealing them. Every client doubt, every whispered concern about stability, every hidden pattern of distrust, all flowing through the markets in real time. At 9:35 a.m., the first major client called. "Our system is showing unusual trading patterns," the caller said, his voice echoing through the speakerphone. "Is there something we should know about Morrison and Barrett's stability?" Elizabeth grabbed the phone. "Everything is completely stable. We're implementing some minor leadership transitions." "Leadership transitions?" Another client line lit up. "Our risk management systems are flagging significant pattern changes in your algorithm's behavior." I watched through my office window as the partners scrambled. Thomas finally tore open my envelope, expecting to find signed transfer papers. Instead he found a single page of code, the core of what made my algorithm unique. "Sarah." He burst into my office waving the paper. "What is this?" "That's the certainty you wanted," I said calmly. "The part of the algorithm that recognizes patterns of betrayal in the markets. The part none of you ever understood." On the trading floor, the displays were telling a story. Client orders were shifting, responding to patterns only the algorithm could see. Not enough to crash anything. I wasn't interested in destruction, but enough to show exactly what happened when trust was broken. Make it stop, Elizabeth demanded, storming into my office. You're destroying everything we built. I'm not destroying anything, I replied. The algorithm is simply doing what it always has, revealing the truth in the markets. Today's truth is about stability, about trust, about what happens when you betray the principles that built your success. The client calls were continuous now. The algorithm's unusual behavior had caught the attention of risk management systems across Wall Street. Questions were being asked, patterns were being analyzed. We can fix this, Thomas said desperately. Tear up the transfer papers, keep your shares, name your price. Price. I stood up slowly, letting them see exactly what they'd tried to discard. My price was 15 years of loyalty. My price was standing together through every market crisis, every client doubt, every challenge. He thought my illness made me weak, made me disposable. The algorithm knows better. On the screens the pattern was clear now. Morrison and Barrett's trading advantage, the seemingly magical ability to predict market movements, wasn't just about code. It was about understanding that markets are built on trust, on relationships, on the integrity of partnerships. The algorithms were running. David's voice shook as he studied the displays. They're not just copies of your code, are they? They're copies of the surface, I confirmed. But the core, the part that really understands patterns, that's not something you can just copy and steal. It evolves, it learns, it recognizes threats, including threats to its own integrity. Elizabeth's face had lost its perfect composure. The clients are demanding answers. The risk management systems at 3 major banks have suspended our trading privileges. We need to do something. You already did something, I said quietly. You decided that markets need certainty more than they need loyalty. More than they need experience. More than they need trust. Now the markets are showing you exactly what happens when you're wrong. The trading floor was in chaos now. The algorithm's displays showed pattern after pattern of instability, each one a reflection of the broken trust that had created them. Clients weren't just questioning our trades. They were questioning everything about Morrison and Barrett. What do you want? Thomas asked, his voice hollow. Name your terms. I walked to the main trading floor, my former partners trailing behind me like chastened children. The screens above told the story better than I could. Hundreds of millions in client funds shifting away from our firm, seeking stability elsewhere. My terms are simple, I said, turning to face them. I keep my shares, all of them, at full value. I retain complete control of the algorithm and its development. And the partners who voted for my removal. I looked at Elizabeth, David, and Maria. They tendered their resignations, effective immediately. You can't demand, Elizabeth began. Check your client accounts, I interrupted. See how many have already suspended trading with us. Calculate how many will leave completely if they learn how you treat loyal partners. Then tell me what I can't demand. The next hour was a blur of paperwork and panic. My terms were accepted, they had no choice. The algorithm had shown them, and the market, exactly what happens when you try to discard the foundations of your success. By the end of the trading day, Morrison and Barrett had a new structure. Thomas, having abstained from the original vote, stayed on but no longer as managing partner. The others cleared out their offices under the watchful eyes of both security and their former clients. I never wanted it to end this way, Thomas said as the dust settled. The illness. We were scared. Markets run on fear and greed, I replied. But successful firms run on trust. The algorithm always understood that, even if you didn't. In the following weeks, as I continued my treatment, Morrison and Barrett transformed. We became known not just for our trading success, but for our stability, real stability, built on loyalty and trust rather than fear and expediency. The algorithm continued to evolve, its understanding of patterns growing deeper. But now everyone understood that its true power wasn't in the code itself, but in the principles it embodied. Elizabeth tried to launch her own trading firm 6 months later. It failed when clients questioned her understanding of both markets and loyalty. David and Maria found positions at larger banks, their reputations forever marked by their choice of expedience over integrity. As for me, the cancer treatment worked. I returned to full-time work 3 months after the attempted coup, stronger for having faced both physical and professional threats. The firm, under its new structure, thrived, our client relationships deeper for having been tested by fire. Every morning when I walk past the trading floor, I look at the algorithm's displays and remember that day. The patterns it shows aren't just about market movements. They're about human nature, about trust, about the true price of loyalty. Thomas stops by my office occasionally, our old friendship slowly mending. I learned an expensive lesson, he said recently. Markets need certainty, yes. But they need integrity more. I smiled, watching the patterns flow across my screens. The algorithm always knew that. It just took a betrayal to make everyone else understand. Now, when clients ask about our stability, we show them something more valuable than profit margins or performance metrics. We show them a firm that understands that true market value isn't measured in algorithms or assets, but in trust and loyalty. And every day the algorithm continues its work, recognizing patterns in both markets and human nature, reminding us that sometimes the most profitable trades are the ones where you refuse to sell your principles. The cancer taught me that some battles must be fought alone, but it also showed me that true strength isn't about standing alone. It's about standing firm for what you believe in. The partners thought my illness made me weak. Instead, it revealed just how strong I really was. In the end, the markets did what they always do. They revealed the truth. Not just about trading patterns or price movements, but about the true cost of betrayal and the real value of trust. And that's a lesson worth far more than any algorithm could calculate.